For you guys that don't know me, my name is Adrian Larsen. I last year benched 585, which was an all-time record at 220 pounds at a competition where I had a same-day weigh-in. That record that I broke was from 1979 by a guy that was strong as shit named Michael McDonald. And Michael had been around for a really long time in the powerlifting game and broke a shit ton of records, and it was like kind of a pretty big deal for me to break something that he did that, you know, held for such a long time. Since then, I think some Russian fuck broke it. Only by a pound, so they only broke it by a pound, so I don't think it counts. After I broke that record, I started writing an ebook about my program leading up to breaking that record, and kind of how I switched my training from the conventional kind of modified West Side template or like a 5-3-1 or a pyramid scheme or any of those kind of things to I kind of switched in and kind of developed my own training system that really progressed my bench tremendously. You know, before I started really training hard to break that record, I was sitting like right around 520 pounds raw, and within about 13 months I got up to 585, and in all honesty I think I cut myself short. When I did 585, I jumped to 600, and I probably should have been a little bit more conservative. At the time, my ego was this big, you know, so I thought I'd just go for 600 at 220, but I probably would have been better off jumping to like a 595 or a 590. But anyway, so that ebook is out, and that's called the Alpha Project, and it's something that, you know, that's one of the biggest accomplishments that I think I've had. You know, I'm not super smart, and so trying to figure out how to do an ebook was quite the process for me. But I recently wrote an article about the difference between you can't and or you won't, and it's kind of a powerful message, I think, because I think a lot of people hear you can't do this, you're not able to do these things, or you shouldn't be able to do these things. That's the difference between somebody believing that they can't do those things, so they believe that you can't do those things. The difference between the can't and the won't is I'm not going to put myself in a position to even try to do it, is the won't. Or the can't is somebody telling you you can't, because in all honesty, I think if you put your mind set to anything, you can do it. As an example, you know, when I was born with dislocated hips and club feet. Right out of the gate, doctor says, this guy's not going to walk. It's done. He's not walking. Had a ton of surgeries. For the first 2 years, I was in a body cast. And, you know, 2 years old, 3 years old comes around, and I'm walking around. But it's because I don't know any different, right? If I would have been 30 years old and the doctor says, you're not going to be able to walk, I would have accepted that and said, okay, I'm not going to be able to walk, so I'm not going to try. As a baby, I didn't know any different. So I got up and I walked because that's what everybody else did. I had 18 surgeries leading up to going into my 7th grade year, and this is when I first started lifting. So going into junior high, I had to go to a different school, so I was going to be in a wheelchair for most of the year, and the middle school in my area had a bunch of stairs, so it wasn't going to work out. So leading up to kind of my first experience really lifting in like a school environment, I didn't have any like really good experiences leading up to that. So my first experience is watching Hulk Hogan scream and shout about taking vitamins and everything else on TV, right? You know, like eat your raw eggs and train hard and do your prayers or whatever bullshit he says. I didn't know he was on a bunch of testosterone. I mean, who would have guessed? So, you know, I go into the fridge because I want to try to work out. You know, I see this guy doing curls and all whatever other kind of crazy stuff he was doing, so I take a gallon of milk and I dump it out. And then I fill it back up with water, because for whatever reason I think water is probably going to weigh more than milk. I can't be running around outside with a gallon of milk. So 20 minutes goes by, my mom comes out, sees me out there with this gallon of milk that's now empty and full of water, and screams and yells at me about it. I'm like, fuck, all right, well, there goes that experience, right? So there's one bad experience. Second bad experience is shortly after that, I go to my dad's house. They were split up, and I go to my dad's house. He's got this little tiny bench set up in his garage, and you know, the typical cement weights and, you know, just the little bullshit setup. And we're doing stuff in the garage. I say, hey Dad, you know, can I lift weights? No, you can't lift weights. All right, well, so I see him sneak off. He's going in the house to go do something. I'm gonna lift weights. I'm gonna figure this out. So I put, you know, how much ever weight on the bar, bring the bar down, and it stops. So now I have two choices. I can lay there and see what happens, or I can yell help. And so, you know, I was a little guy, so I started yelling help, and he came out, he lifted the bar off of me, and then beat my ass. So he told me not to do something. So going into 7th grade, right, those are the two experiences I've had working out, and that's it. And they tell me, since I'm going to be in a wheelchair, I can't do PE because I can't run around like everybody else, I can't go out on the track, I can't do all these things. You're going to lift weights. I was like, shit, I don't want to lift weights, that's stupid. So I go into class, and my first class of weightlifting, you know, there's about 10 or 15 guys in the class. It's a really small room, and they have this overweight, bald coach that sits in there, and that's all he does. Like, he doesn't help any of the kids, he doesn't do anything. He just basically sits in there, and I'm sure half the time he probably slept, but, you know, so I lay down and doing my workouts, kind of going back and forth from the wheelchair and doing stuff, and I have no idea what I'm doing. You know, back then there wasn't an internet, so you couldn't like look up Louis Simmons videos, or you couldn't look up and see what, you know, top level lifters are doing. You don't have any idea. And this guy comes up to me and he says, one of the kids I went to school with, he goes, "You should see how much you can bench." Cool, let's stack it up, let's go. And at the time, I don't remember what it was somewhere around 200 pounds on a Smith machine, so really it doesn't count for anything, but I laid down and I got it. And it was a struggle, it was a grinder. All the kids, you know, were cheering and they were happy about it. But the teacher saw what had happened and pulled me aside and he said, "Listen, here's the deal, we don't do that kind of stuff. You do 3 sets of 10 on everything, and you put it in your logbook, and then I review it, I sign it, whatever else, and oh hey, just so you know, you're never gonna be as strong as me." And I was pissed, I was hot pissed. Because here's some guy, you know, that's sitting there, he's overweight, he's bald, you know, doesn't look like he's ever worked out a day in his life, and he's telling me his 315 pound Smith machine bench, I'm never gonna be able to do that, right? So I went home, explained it to my mom, and I think one of the biggest things that she had told me to do is you just gotta prove them wrong. So do it. So I went into class, I started training hard, but I had no idea what I was doing, right? I was just going in there, just trying to make progress, just going at it, just whatever I could, in and out, every day. And eventually towards, you know, about 3/4 of the way through the year, I was in wheelchair, or crutches at that time. And so I went in there, arms are tired because I've been on crutches all day, but it's like, fuck it, I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna try to do 315. So I'm gonna outlift this guy. And so I waited, you know, during the whole period, I was waiting for him just to kind of move around the room, and eventually he did. He went and helped somebody with something. And so I laid down, put 315 in, put the pin in, and I started repping it out. And a couple of the kids, you know, they were like, "Oh my God, this is crazy." And so later that day, after the class, he pulled me aside and he told me that he had saw what I had done. And I was fully expecting, you know, to get an ass chewing, but I didn't. You know, basically what I got from him was that, you know, acceptance. Like, I mean, you beat my ass. You're in 7th grade, you shouldn't be able to bench this, and you beat my ass. And kind of from that point forward, lifting was kind of something special. Like, it kind of gave me an opportunity to lift more than other people, right? And that's something I always took a lot of pride in. So going into high school, I had to wear these leg braces. And so, you know, it kind of cramped my style a little bit. You know, I'd walk around in shorts and you're trying to fit in like everybody else, and it wasn't happening. So about halfway through the school year, I decided I'm gonna dump these in my locker while I'm in school. I can't do it all day because if my mom saw it, you know, she'd beat my ass. So I got to just put them in my locker, and then when I go home, take them home, and that worked for a few weeks. Well, then I forget them at school. So I try all day. I have my pants on. I go to bed with pajamas on, and then it was like, okay, so where are these at? You know, she figured it out that I wasn't wearing them, and so she took me back to the doctor. This is the same doctor that said I'd never walk. Said I'd never walk, I would never run, never play basketball. Wouldn't be able to walk without assistance, you know, whatever. And I looked at him and I said, listen, I don't want to wear this. I'm a freshman in high school and I want to fit in like everybody else, and I don't want to wear shorts. I want to be like everybody else. And he said, all right, do me a favor. I'll let you not wear them, but anytime you play any sports, you got to run, you got to wear them. And of course, you know, I just told him what he wanted to hear. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, no problem. And from that day on, I never wore them again. No matter if I played basketball, racquetball, whatever, never wore them again. Started playing basketball on the high school team that year, and because of some unsportsmanlike conduct, I got kicked off the team. Apparently, if you don't like the call that the ref makes, you don't throw a fit, and I did. So I got kicked off the team, and I started really focusing on working out. It's something I could see progress in my lifts, right? I could see a difference in the way my body looked. I could see a difference in the weight I was lifting. And it was easy for me to look at trying to get progress, not perfection, right? I knew that I couldn't spend 3 or 4 days in the gym and everything be the way that I want it to be. I'm not going to be as strong as I want to be, nothing, but I can see that progress, and that's what was encouraging, and that's why I continued to go. So I'd wake up at 4 in the morning, my dad would come pick me up, I'd go to his work with him, work out, he'd drive me back, and then I'd work out again during, you know, my school hours. Again, you got to remember, this is a time where the internet wasn't around, so I wasn't like on Facebook or bodybuilding.com looking at how you're supposed to work out. This was all just, if I spend as much time as I can in the gym, I'm going to get strong. And then I'm going to eat a shit ton of Whoppers and milkshakes in between. So then I ran into a guy named Joaquin. And Joaquin went to my high school. He was like a 5th year senior. He was one of those guys not too bright. You know, he liked the parties and the football games and all that stuff. But, you know, unfortunately for him, he spent, I think he was getting his doctorate in high school. So he talked to me about lifting and kind of got me geared up into lifting and into my first competition. And instantly, when I did my first competition, I went in, and I had no idea what bench press shirts were, but I was a raw lifter, and I was competing in a bench press division, or a shirted division, and I ended up winning. And it all kind of like started formulating in my head, like that wasn't good enough. I don't only want to outlift the people in the same weight class, I want to outlift everybody in my division. Everybody in every weight class in the teenage division. And unfortunately, I ran into a guy named Ryan Kennelly. We were about the same age, and you know, he's got some genetics that are just crazy. He ended up, you know, obviously competing with me nonstop. As I progressed a couple of years into high school into lifting and competitions, I started training in Oregon City at Nelson's with a guy like Tim Olson here. He was one of the guys I used to work out with. A guy named Steve Bodwin, Jim Cunningham, and these dudes were hardcore, right? Like, you go to the gym now and you do something and everybody cheers and they say, oh, hey, great job. These guys are like, you fucking idiot, do more. Like, it was never like, you're doing good. It wasn't that participation, right? It was, you do better or don't show up. And it really taught me a lot about lifting because these guys kind of just took me under their wing. And I was probably at 16, 17, 18 years old, I was probably really hard to get along with, right? I was a know-it-all.
Still
I was
are.
stronger than everybody. Pipe down back there. But I was training with these guys, and they kind of took me under their wing. We'd go over to their house in the morning on Saturdays and have breakfast. Steve's wife would make, you know, a huge breakfast for everybody. And we'd sit around and we'd talk about training and things we're going to do. And it was really special, and that's kind of transitioned into what I do now, you know, like trying to talk to different lifters and try to help people out. I do that through, you know, Facebook. I try to help people out, you know, doing stuff like this, holding workshops every 4 or 5 weeks. We're basically just kind of help give people information on how to stay strong, you know. Unfortunately, a lot of people go to these different gyms, they find different people to train with, and, you know, they don't know their ass from a hole in the wall. And And it sucks, you know, because then you go in there and you just do whatever they're doing and you don't see the progress. And that's what one of those guys really taught me, is just kind of help other people out. And from my standpoint, when I come into something like this and we start working on benching and somebody says, hey, so what do I do when this happens? Like, that makes me a better lifter, because now I need to think about your guys' problems, not just mine, right? It's easy for me to lay down and go, what are my problems and how is this gonna make me a better lifter? When I have to think about other problems, maybe areas of things I've never had to worry about before, it makes me a better lifter, kind of thinking outside the box. So, to kind of wrap this up, you know, I don't know if anybody here has ever seen like an Eric Thomas video, but he's like a motivational speaker on YouTube. And so I watch this guy's stuff pretty frequently, and he has a specific story about a guy who wants to be successful. And so he goes up to this guru and says, hey, you know, I want to be successful. How do I become successful? I want to be just like you. The guy says, meet me at the beach tomorrow morning. I'm going to show you how to be successful. So the next day, first thing in the morning, this guy rolls up at the beach. He's wearing a tie, suit. All right, let's do this. How do I be successful? He says, follow me. He walks him out into the water. He says, man, this is crazy. How I'm walking out in the water. I just want to be successful. I want to know what the secrets are. Goes out in the water, takes his head, puts it underwater, holds him down. And he lifts him up. And he says, when you want to be as successful as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. That doesn't just apply to just lifting. That applies to your whole entire world. Whether it's career, relationship, lifting, personal life, whatever it is. So between that, I can't or I won't, think about those things in your lifting, and then remember it's progress, not perfection. Because if it was as easy as going in and just getting perfection, everybody would do it. Everybody doesn't do it, right? Everybody's looking for the next fad, the next quick thing. There's no quick thing, it's just progress. We're just looking for progress. All right?